Hello and welcome to the Yeshiva League Pass podcast, the tip-off show, episode number 4. I'm Ari Wickus. I'm joined by the one and only Oren Glickman. We have a great show ahead of you. We have a player of the week, Sammy Chira. I don't know if anyone knows who that is, but everyone knows who Cheech is. He's going to be coming on as our player of the week. Great story with him, and we're going to get into his questions and answers and really look forward to that. But before we do, let's thank our sponsors, Holy Schnitzel. Holy Schnitzel is just the place to be. As you see, a lot of people have become food critics. If you're following social media, you have people all the time, and Holy Schnitzel is just always one of those. When you see Holy Schnitzel, you get hungry. You can't wait to get something to eat from there. As I've mentioned before, they do everything from salads to chicken to meat to shawarma, you name it, they have it. All different types of food, and it's a great location. They have one here in Woodmere. They have all throughout the tri-state area, online, all the Uber Eats and all your food apps, you can get them. Also, they do catering, and if you're looking for a place to do everything for you in one shot, it's Holy Schnitzel. And now let's get into invite our player of the week, Cheech, to the show with myself and Oren. Hello, Cheech. How are you?
Doing good. How are we doing?
All right, we're doing excellent. First of all, congratulations on being Player of the Week. We have a big show here today, and we know you have a busy week. You have a game to go to soon. You have a lot of big, important games coming up this week. So we're going to just fire away with questions. I'm going to give you some. Oren's going to give you some, and we're going to try to keep you on your toes and have some fun with it and hear what you have to say. So first of all, congrats to a wonderful start of the season. Mag and David, this was one of those years where we've learned that, maybe they're going to take a step back or two, but then all of a sudden, not everyone knew that Cheech was coming on down to Brooklyn from Flappers to really center that team. And, it's a big addition to you. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about you coming onto the scene in your senior year, regardless of where you were before. I don't think that you were someone who was expected to be the player that you are now. I'm sure yourself and your coaches obviously had that confidence in you. But tell us about the transition of learning the footwork, getting yourself in shape to becoming probably, if I think about it, the dominant postman in the league this year. I think Oren would agree with that. Tell us about how you've become the player you are in the senior year, which is a little bit unexpected to the rest of the league.
But yeah, so honestly, it's all about putting in the work, working on yourself, just trying to be better in yourself, trying to become a player that you want to see yourself play, that you think you are, you want to show it to everyone else.
Now, did you feel like it was about, some kids are like, hey, I just need the opportunity. Once I get the opportunity, I'm as good as everyone on the court. I could be one of the best players. Or was it really a mindset of you working on your body, working on your post moves? Was it something you felt like you always had? Or was it something that you felt that you had to really put some discipline on yourself to get to where you are now?
I think opportunity is a big part of it, but definitely working on yourself to get to where you are is definitely the bigger step.
Got it. All right, Oren, what do you have for Cheech?
Yeah, so talk to us about, being inserted to Spike Benny's system right off the bat. They really emphasize it being a 4-year program, and you've had to catch up to everything on the fly, for senior year. Has that been a challenge? Has it been an adjustment? What's it been like?
Definitely an adjustment, but I wouldn't say it's a challenge. They're very helping, very welcoming. They just want the best for you. So with their help, I'm able to do everything that they've been doing for the last 4 years.
Right. So you were you that's actually on that. Were you obviously when a 6'3", 6'4" big man comes in, you're going to be welcomed with open arms, right? As a player, as a competitor, you're coming to my side. I'm going to be like, hey, let's go, bring it on. But how has the reception been, from the teammates? Because obviously, coming in, you're taking someone's starting spot, right? That wasn't
Yeah.
what wasn't there before because you weren't with the program. So how has that been like for fellow big men or the guy's spot you took? Has the welcoming been something that right away they accepted you, or is it something has been as the season goes on, they're like, hey, we need this guy. I'm happy to take a step back. And what has that been like?
No, I feel like the second I got there, they're very opening, very welcoming. They're happy to have me, and I'm happy to be there. Very open arms.
Right. So it was like right away. So now it's about obviously you were at Flatbush for I assume first 3 years. I know last year you were there for your freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then now you're at Mag and David, which is we all know about the rivalry. We'll ask you some questions soon about the upcoming game, which I'm sure it's always a big game. But when you
Yeah.
have a transfer who's really, one of the star players of the new team, it's going to be a big deal. But what was that process like? Was it something where you were coming out of eighth grade, always considering one of the other schools, or you weren't sure? And what was the reason or the thinking as you were able to switch senior year to Magan from Flatbush?
So it wasn't really a thought in eighth grade. So I was in Flatbush my whole life, but I wasn't really like the happiest when I got to high school, like my grades weren't so great, wasn't getting the playing time I thought I deserved or wanted to play. But then last year, junior year, I got I got an opportunity to speak to Coach Spike. He saw me play the couple minutes that here and there that I did. He spoke to me, he saw what he liked, he said I had potential, and then I he gave me an opportunity that I couldn't back down.
Right. So was it something like your family was, I mean, look, obviously your family, I would assume, is supportive of whatever, decisions, and they help you make those decisions. But was that something that, was solely it was on Cheech to decide, or was it something like your family said, hey, we value this and that? And, what was that like as far as making that ultimate decision? Or was it just like, hey, I'm going, there's no question in my mind?
Parents were very supportive at it, but they made the final decision to be on me. They wanted me to make my own decision for myself. So yeah, here I am.
Wow. All right. Oren, what do you have?
Spike's got to be the master of negotiation. You get Moses Smecky transferring senior year, now Cheech. I wonder who's next after this.
Right. Everyone has to hold their star players, very, very close to their heart. It's a good question.
Yeah. But so when you guys play Flatbush, is the first matchup at Magan or is it Flatbush?
It's Sunday at Flatbush.
Sunday at Flatbush. So tell
That's
us,
even more intrigue.
yeah, tell us about what your emotions are going into this game. Are you anticipating an intimidating atmosphere, a rough environment? Are you looking forward to it?
Definitely looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. It's gonna be great. A lot
Right
of
now. Yeah.
a lot of
Go ahead.
noise.
Now,
Be a lot of noise.
have they been preparing you mentally? Because look, we all know, as our small little world of Jewish basketball, most all the kids, competitors, you guys are all friends off the court, especially
Mhm.
in Brooklyn. You go to the center together, you go to camps together, you do a lot of community stuff together. But how are they preparing you for? Hey, Cheech, they're gonna be, they're gonna say some things to try to rile you up. You got to keep your emotions calm. How do you take that without putting so much on yourself to be able to let the game come to you in that really difficult, fun environment you're going to head into?
I mean, they've said a couple of things so far, but we're not really focused on it yet. We got two big games coming up, and we're focused on that. But then we'll get to that.
Okay, let's fast forward. Let's just say those two games are done.
Okay, so if those are done, we win both. Okay, we have momentum going to the next game. We're excited. You just gotta take your time. You gotta relax. You can't let it all get to you.
Right, and also
It's
this
not all
game.
about me.
Right, right. No, no, absolutely. And also, this game has huge implications, as it always does, Flatbush Magan. Even if you guys were 0 and 12 each, which would never happen, but the game would still have that rivalry. But right now, you're both competing. You each have, as we're doing this podcast, you each have one loss. So does DRS. So you guys all are fighting for one of the top two seeds, which is obviously a bye in the playoffs. But what's been the biggest change in your game besides the opportunity? Has it been, your post moves has been something? Because I've seen you, in person, and your footwork is incredible. Your touch around the basket, your rebounding. What has been the biggest thing that your game has elevated in over the past year?
Definitely my pace and my free throws. Spike's big on the free throws.
He's big on the free throws. Like, if you don't make them, you're like headed to the bench, or you're just going to have to take more practice shots.
More practice shots.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why Spike's the best in the business. He knows. Got to
Yep.
motivate without the fear of hurting his team. Obviously. Oren,
Yeah.
what do you have for Cheech?
Yeah. So as Ari mentioned earlier, I think there were a lot of people who thought that this could be a down year for Magan, but you proved the critics wrong. Um, Going into the season, did you have championship aspirations with this squad, or did you feel this was an opportunity to have a different type of role with a new team? How did you look at it?
I mean, I came in wanting to win. Like that's what I wanted. But still now we think we're gonna win. We still think that we have a chance. Everyone, the league's open right now, so we all think we're gonna win.
Mhm.
Wait, tell me about, you're going to be going into, I'm almost positive, the big man of Flatbush, Esses, right? That's
Yeah.
his. Okay. So now you're going into, I assume you guys had some good battles, when you were practicing
Hmm.
at Flatbush. How does
Yeah.
that work, the familiarity, knowing each other, right? So you know his bread and butter move. He knows what you like to do. He knows you get the ball. What's that like? And are you guys talking before the game? I don't know if you're friends or whatnot, but like, what's that like going into the game, knowing you're going against an adversary who was a teammate, just 6 months ago?
Yeah, so we're still friends. We talk about it. We're gonna get chippy, you know. We're just smack talk, who's gonna be better, who's gonna play this, who's gonna do that. All that matters when we're there. You're not gonna like think about what he's gonna do. You just gotta guard him when you're at him.
Right? Is there a JV game beforehand, or is this a single game?
I'm not sure. I think it's just a single game.
Right. So it's admission. I think the tickets are already sold out. I
Mm.
saw them on StubHub already. The Baggett and the Flatbush faithful are definitely.
It's gonna be a packed house.
It's going to be a packed house. Absolutely. Oren, what do you have?
So it's my understanding. I mean, I know this is a basketball podcast, but it's also my understanding that you're quite the baseball player.
Yes, yes. I like
So
baseball.
Mag and David, uh, to my understanding, I don't think they've ever had a baseball team. Is this something that they're going to have this year to accommodate you?
This year they actually did start a baseball team. We just
Really
got cages. We're practicing already. We got the squad. Yeah.
amazing.
Wow, he
It's
actually sounds
good.
more excited to talk about baseball than he does basketball. I'm scared to see what
Nah, I'm
happens when
locked
he
into
makes
basketball
contact.
right now. I'm locked in for basketball right now.
Right. What are you, a first baseman? You have the first baseman vibes.
Yeah, first base pitcher.
Right. Okay. Big lefty. I'm not sure that's really intimidating on the mound when you have Cheech coming down. So give us the nickname. Obviously, Chira, Cheech. Like, where did it start? Was it from your parents? Was it from a coach? Give us a little bit about the background of the nickname Cheech.
It was a while ago, so it was like we were like 8 years old, you know. We had like this one like coach that we did sports after school with, and then he just one day just said Cheech and it just stuck.
Cheech, and there it is. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a good one. It's like, it's as you said, like, are we calling you Cheech, Sammy, Samuel? You're like, no, I'm Cheech. That's how it's done. What do your teachers call you? The teachers call you Cheech or no?
Some do. If I'm close with them, they'll call me Cheech, but everyone else would say Samuel.
Right. Well, now that you said your grades are good, I'm sure you're close with all your teachers. That
Yeah, yeah. Now they're chill.
Right, exactly. All right, Oren, one more question from you, and then I'll hit him with a final question, and then we'll give him some opportunity to do some shout outs.
Yeah. Who would you say is the toughest player that you've gone up against so far this season? And who's a player who you haven't gone up against yet that you're looking forward to?
Toughest player as in like what position? Like for me to guard or play
Yeah.
against?
Yeah.
For me to guard? Mm, probably Solomon. You
Michael
know?
Solomon. That's a good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes to work it. He works the ball. He has some nice moves. Like he likes to take the charge also a lot, so it's a little
It's
annoying.
funny. I think I had a conversation with him and he said you too. So that's very funny.
It's nice.
All right, so there it is, and they face each other coming up again. So here's my question, and then we'll give you an opportunity for shout outs. I want your top five, no current teammates, Flatbush Magnum players that you in your era, or that you remember. It could be whatever comes to your mind. Top five Flatbush Magnum guys,
Top five all time
all time,
that
all time
that I know.
that
Okay.
you know. Yeah,
Um, no current teammates.
no current teammates. We don't
No
want
current
to let
teammates.
that go. Too easy.
Okay, we'll go Josh Abbott, Benny Keita, Moses Smekey, mm,
Two more.
Sardar, and Ricky Hatton.
Oh, so he
A good
ends with a
mixture, a
five.
good blend there, Ari.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's, by the way, Cheech, they would almost think that we gave you that question beforehand with the answer. That's not an easy question, right? Because
yeah, it was rough.
you played in both places, you know all these kids, but
Hmm.
that's some starting team. You got two Flatbush guys, two Magnum guys, and one transfer, so that works perfectly. We
Yeah,
keep the borders you're pretty even there. So give us some of your shout outs. Obviously, I know. First, I want to just say I know your dad is a big fan of yours. We've seen him
yeah.
at the stands. He may be the best dressed guy in the stands. And give us some shout outs that you want to thank for getting you here, or just some teammates or whoever. The floor is yours to talk what you like about.
I would definitely shout out to my coaches, Spike, Benny, and Rosso. My parents, big support on me. My whole overall family, my teammates, my friends. Yeah, everyone who supports me.
All right. Well, listen, we appreciate you giving us the time today. You have a huge week coming up.
Yeah.
as we said, 2 big games and then the big game. So we're all going to be locked in. Best of luck.
Mhm.
Really shows what Yeshiva League is all about. Someone who starts coming on senior year, and now you're one of the top players in the league. So kudos to you, to all your coaches and your
Thank
family
you.
for supporting you, and wish you the best of luck in the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
So, but look, that's what it's about. I love that the fact that we talked about it. Like this was not a player who was really on the radar of many teams, even when he was at Flatbush. Like I guess he
Correct.
said the opportunity, but now he's really. I mean, you've seen him in person. I've seen him in person.
I
He's
saw
just
him twice. I saw
right,
him last year with Flatbush in the first round playoff game against TABC, and Eyal Kinderleiter kind of dominated that matchup. Now,
right. Yeah,
now I'd be curious to see it now.
yeah. He's just. I mean, really, the footwork. I mean, he's a big man, but he's got great moves. So kudos to Cheech for making our player of the week, and he's got a big week ahead. But let's get into our power rankings. So we're gonna jump through the bottom half. I think until we get to about 10, 11, it hasn't really changed that much. As most of the times it's not going to. The bottom half is usually the bottom half. But 20 or Yisrael not undefeated, unwinning or winless, as they say. At 2019, Barkeye still hanging their hat on their one victory this year. It did have a competitive game against Hafter a
Yeah,
week or
they
so
only lost
ago.
by 10.
Yeah, so they are, definitely a team who has a capability of hanging around a little bit. Then at 18, Rambam, again, just really has not been the year they had hoped. I think they had some higher aspirations. 17, the Heschel Heat. Again, their highlight of their year so far has been their big victory over Hafter. Other than that, they've kind of been a little underwhelming. 16, Waterbury. We've talked about them. No signature victory yet. They have not really put the fear on any of the above teams. Still capable of it, as we know they have the horses to be able to play with them. Some of those teams. At 15, the Hank Hurricane, who has a huge matchup coming up, depending when this podcast airs, against Mag and David, who Cheech was referring to, at Hank. Hank, again, what have you seen, Oren? Is there something that, obviously they need a big victory, but they have some potential, just haven't put it together yet?
Yeah, so Hank actually haven't played a lot of games. I think they've only played 6 up until this point.
Oh, wow.
And their last time in competitive play was at the Wiener tournament in Baltimore, and they won that tournament.
Right.
So they might feel that tournament can kind of jumpstart their season now, and maybe they feel they can kick it into high gear now. We'll see.
Yeah, you know what? Momentum. I don't think it was the toughest field at the Wiener tournament. I
Right.
think
But a
that's the
tournament
field.
win's a tournament win.
Right. Correct. You win. That means you get used to winning, and all of a sudden your confidence grows. And you're right. Let's see what happens. And they got a huge game against Magan at their home gym, so that's an opportunity. Maybe Magan's overlooking that game, looking ahead to Flatbush and DRS that they're going to play after. So that's an opportunity for Hank. At 14, Kushner. Again, they haven't really. They're playing better as of late, but have not really beaten a team that has been higher than in the rankings, I believe.
Can I say something though?
Yeah,
Mark my words right here on this show. Kushner will be a playoff team next year.
really. So they are their transfers are seniors or not seniors?
That
No.
whole core is back for next year. It's my
Got
understanding. Finkelstein's playing like a top player in the league right now. Those Israeli transfers will be back next year. I would pay close attention to Kushner for next
Yeah,
year.
and also they have a great freshman player, Ethan Lefkowitz, who potentially could play varsity in 10th grade. I know Kushner brings up a lot of those kids in 10th grade. They're better players. So, yeah, that's actually, not that they're looking forward to next year, but that might be the year that they really make some noise. At number 13, we have YDE, who had a real opportunity to put themselves on the map. They had Frisch defeated until they just didn't close the deal and turned the ball over. They were up by 6 to 9 points with 30 seconds left, 45 seconds left. Could not inbound the ball. Had some real poor execution at the end of the game, and they let Frisch come away. Suss hit a huge three to tie it with 4 or 5 seconds left in the game. But that was an opportunity for YDE, and I think that just what it did is just awoken their competitors for the rest of the year. That if you go into that YDE sleeping on them, they're going to give you a fight. I mean, you saw that game. What did you think about YDE and their where they are in the rankings?
I really thought if they had pulled off that win, it would have put them on the map. But I feel like a game like that could also be a sucker punch going the other way. But for YDE, they just have to finish top 6 in the conference, and then they'll feel like it's a clean slate right off the bat. So I think that's what they have to think right now. Just get to the 6th seed.
Yeah, that they've been pretty much for the past 4 to 5 years, I remember they've been always fighting for that sixth playoff spot. I think before that they had some players where they were a perennial, top competitor, or at least top four competitor in their division. But right now they've lately been fighting for the sixth seat. At number 12, you have JEC Thunder, who we've talked about. Right now they might be on a, they are, I don't know, they were on a win streak. Then they ran into Frisch. They lost to Frisch, but they have the softer part of their schedule. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, taking care of the teams we've mentioned before. Below them in the power rankings. But again, no signature victory, but a game that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to take care of someone if they want to jump into the playoff contention. Anything on JC?
Coach Grunberg, I think, totally agrees with that assessment. I think at this point, JC might have to run the table and go 8-6 to have any shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a tough task because they definitely have some teams that get to play. At number 11, you have the Hafter Hawks. Hafter, again, I think this is where the tier really starts to separate. The top 11 are really where the better teams in the league this year. And I think Hafter is right there at number 11. They're, again, a team that they'll beat somebody. They have they're similar to teams that we've said before. They've taken care of the opponents they're supposed to, minus one bad loss to Heschel. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to, but now they got to knock off a DRS, a Mag, and a Flatbush.
Yeah. They hung with Ramaz for a half, but the key word in that sentence is half. They have to learn how to go 32 minutes with the top team, and I'm not sure they have enough depth to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the key word. They don't have the depth. Like when they go to their bench, they're just, it takes a big drop off, and then to say, hey, let's play our starters all 32 minutes. They also did. It's hard to play 32 minutes, not physically. Kids can all do it, but it's a matter of where your shot gets a little shorter, your rebounding gets a little less, your defense gets a little weaker. So I think that's the issue with Hafter. Right now, they're at number 11. At number 10, we have the MTA Lions. MTA, again, pleasant surprise so far this season. They do have a nice victory or two, and they have an opportunity as their schedule gets tougher. They're playing TABC. They're going to play SAR. They have a big game against JEC, which is a game they should take care of. They have already, but MTA is just, again, I don't think they've played a lot of games either, right? They're kind of they have a lot of games coming up.
Right. They've only played half their season so far.
Right.
Having said that, though, I think Oshie deserves a lot of credit. I think Avramov, Nice, and Engel are a dynamic trio, could be one of the top big threes in the league in terms of, firepower. I think the biggest question surrounding MTA will be the role players surrounding those three guys.
Right. So we'll see. And again, they have the opportunities. At number 9, you have the SAR Sting. I almost want to say disappointing, but not disappointing. Just dealing with Ari Halpert. He's missed a big portion of the season thus far, and I assume he'll be coming back. I hope so. I don't know much about the injury. I know he hurt his hand, his arm, or wrist, or something along those lines. But without Ari, it's a big drop off. Like we said, it makes the Goldbergs and the Webkeys. Those kids have to be their 1-2 options, which not that they can't handle, but it's just easier to game plan when you don't have the Ari Halpert all over the court, defense, offense, running the team. And his athleticism. And again, they've lost some games and they still have a tough schedule ahead. But any thoughts on SAR? They sit at number what did I say, 9 in the rankings?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I just saw SAR last week right before Hanukkah, and they just look like a totally different team without Ari, anchoring the offense on the court. It's my understanding he'll be back for the second half of the season, so I would look to see SAR move up in the rankings once he's back.
Yeah, and also I will say this: it's the one positive is the Manu Webke. He's getting some huge minutes, really the focus of the offense. That's going to help them later on. He's going to have the confidence as a sophomore, really stepping up in the absence of Ari. I think
who knows if he would have even moved up if Ari didn't go down.
Right, exactly. So this is true, and they're making waves at number 9. At number 8, we have the Hillel Heat. Hillel is again coming back. They've put their injuries aside. They've really started playing better as we suspected when some of their key players came back. They have a big game. They have some big games coming up. They're playing TABC on this coming Sunday. Right now, Hillel and TABC, we'll talk about next, really jockeying for playoff positioning, which would entail probably a home playoff game, depending on how they fare for the rest of the season. What do you think of Hillel? And again, Hillel was probably one of the top 4 teams on paper before the season started. I think we both had them in our top 5 for sure. What do you think about Hillel as the season starts to get to crunch time?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but now that Terran's back, Hillel on paper is one of the most dangerous teams in the league. I singled out MTA's big 3 just a few segments ago. Hillel's big 3 is 10 times stronger between Epstein, Tobias, and Terran. You need all 3 of them clicking on the court, and if that's happening, Hillel's a championship contender.
Yeah, and also I think they have one of the best home court advantages because of the travel. Meaning,
For everyone.
Right. They're just anyone who goes out to Hillel, it's tough. It's a long road trip, but at the same token, when Hillel goes to you, it's an opportunity to get them catching. Did they get enough rest on the bus? It's a long trip. So, but when you go out there, and it's generally on Sundays, it feels like they play a lot of Sunday.
A lot of their home games are on Sunday.
Yeah, which is very tough. For kids to play on Sunday when you're not used to it, and you're not in the mode of school and then games, it's tough. So that's where Hillel is. At number 7, TABC shooting up with a bullet. They're getting healthy. Borgen is back, but more importantly, I know the last name is Hochstein. What's his first name?
Naftali Hochstein.
Naftali Hochstein. Wow, this talking about from the outside. Obviously, you're very familiar with the program, but someone on the outside who just sees the kid really coming into his own, a real player on the court. Just stepping into his role. What have you seen from him and the team as they've really started to play well as they've gotten healthy? Obviously, they beat Frisch and they beat SAR, and now they have a couple games coming up. What have you seen on TABC?
Yeah, they've won 3 in a row now. I think they're feeling very good about themselves. I think at one point they were facing, going into the first game, they were facing the possibility of going 3-5, and now in these next, they play MTA and Heschel back to back coming up. They have the opportunity to now go 8-4, which is a substantial difference.
Right.
It's like you said, Hochstein. I mean, everybody knew that Borgen and Faber. I think every team around the league knew that Borgen and Faber were going to get their points somehow. And it was going to go down to these role players such as Naftali Hochstein. I would also highlight Yost Khan. These are the role players who are going to have to do their parts in order to, support Borgen and Faber and make TABC competitive.
Right. And also, I will say this, and this is a known fact, Coach Oz teams are just so much better in the second half. You catch them early. I think last year even did their Sarachek championship team. They had an early loss to Heschel maybe at home, and then they just rounded into form. They're a team as the season goes on. It's known around the league. You'd rather play TABC early than later because they are definitely a team that after the practicing and playing with Coach Oz, they get stronger as the season goes on. Then we have number 6, North Shore, the North Shore Lions, who I would say they're not struggling. They've come back down to earth a little bit. I think they started off, winning the Cooper season, the Cooper tournament, beating the highly acclaimed Milken School from Los Angeles, getting to the finals of the Magen David tournament where they lost to Flatbush, and then. They started off, they were winning, they were taking care of some of the teams, but lately they've played some of those upper tier teams and they've come up on the short end. They played DRS, they had them, they lost them in overtime. Then they had a game against Flatbush, again, a close game, they lost. So I think no one is sleeping on them. Everyone knows how great of a team they are, but I think they've kind of come back down to earth, which is kind of where they were at the preseason rankings. I think they were kind of in the 6 to 8 category, right? When we were just looking at teams and players. Anything on
Memphis had them too. They were an 8th seed for that tournament,
right? So yeah, I think also I think the other thing is Charlie Sassoon he's a phenomenal player, but I think everyone now knows that you better lock up Charlie, and that's a key to beating North Shore. No disrespect to their other players, but Charlie is the guy who, if you can keep him, 12 points or lower or less, you're probably going to have a good chance of winning, because then you're making other kids having to really step up, and they have capabilities, but they don't have the moves that Charlie has. So that's at number 6. We have North Shore. At number 5, we have the Ramaz Rams. Ramaz, again, playing really well as of late. They ran into Frisch on an aforementioned Sunday game, and they got handled easily by Frisch. Frisch has beaten them twice. That's their only two league losses, and then they bounced back. As you mentioned, they played Hafter and the road, and they were, I believe, tied at the halftime, and then went on a huge run, and they ended up winning by about 19, 20 points. I think Ramaz is in a good spot as far as they have two losses. Part of their schedule on paper, they have some of the games coming up with JEC, Heschel. They do have Hillel and SAR left, and I believe one other team. But I think they have an opportunity to kind of stack the wins against hopefully the teams they should beat, but then really put their mark down on one of those teams where they're going to have to really shoot for playoff contention with. What have you seen on Ramaz?
Yeah, no, this group has come a long way. They should definitely be proud of their Guinness Championship victory over a very solid North Shore team that we just talked about. I think if you had told various people around the league that Ramaz could be a top 2 seed and get a first round bye, they would have called you insane. But the probabilities are looking more and more likely that Ramaz have the potential to lock up that 2 seed and get a first round bye.
Right, yeah, and I think that's the key this season. Like, right, we're talking about, hey, North Shore was higher than they were, and now they're coming back. SCR is a little lower than we think now, but that's where it was. It just shows the competitiveness of the season. Besides, on paper, I think everyone knew Frisch and Flatbush and DRS were probably very strong. The other teams were like, we don't know what we're going to get, and that's kind of where we are. So then at number 4, you have the Mag and David Warriors, who, again, I mean, we're just not going to talk about it again. Do not sleep on Magan. Do not sleep on Spike. Do not sleep on Benny, and then all their coaches and all their portal transfers and everything like that. They are the machine that just keeps churning, and they are just next man up. Huge week. They had so far the only league loss was that loss to DRS where they were leading and then kind of went cold, and DRS really took care of that game. But Magan has a huge week coming up, and we'll talk about them in we'll talk about our preview in the games of the week. They're playing against DRS at Magan, at Flatbush, and also the game at Hank, as Cheech mentioned. Not to look ahead, but what are your thoughts on Magan at number 4 in the rankings?
Yeah, I think these next couple weeks are really going to tell us what kind of team Mag and David is. I think we're all surprised in where they are right now, but are we going to keep being surprised, or could we be surprised the other way? Could we see Magan take a nosedive with these tough conference opponents that are coming up for them in their schedule? Do they drop a little? Only time will tell.
Right, we'll see. And then at number 3, we have the DRS Wildcats. DRS, again, only one loss. They just lost to Flatbush within the past couple of weeks in overtime at Flatbush. Again, they have the championship pedigree. All those kids, for their main contributors, the big 3, have all played in huge games. Nothing's going to overwhelm them, and they got a great home crowd. But they got a game coming up against Magan, and I think they played a lot of their season, so they probably only have a couple of games left.
Yeah,
I think they have 4 games left. They have Magan, I know, coming up, and then
they play Hillel.
Oh, they play Hillel?
Yeah, they still have to play one of their non-conference games, so they go to Hillel on a Sunday, I think.
Oh, okay, so they have some games coming up, and again, that fight for the top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference it's going to come down to Flatbush, DRS, and Magan. One of those teams will not get a bye, and not getting a bye is a big deal, because then you have to you got to play the 6th seed, which is not the biggest deal sometimes in your own conference. What do you have, Oren?
It comes with the territory of being a championship team. I just looked it up. Their last 4 games are Magan, Flatbush, North Shore, and Hillel.
Oh, okay, there you go. So those are 4 really tough games where on paper they would say it's a pick 'em or a favorite by a couple points, underdog a couple points. Those are all, there's nothing easy on that lineup. But, again, that fighting these 3 teams, Flatbush, Magan, and DRS, fighting for the top 2 seed, not only do you get the Sarachek, although DRS obviously is most likely always a Sarachek, candidate, if not always in the tournament, but you want to get that bye because that sets you up to get one less team you have to play against, and then you can prepare for the upcoming teams. And then at number 2, Flatbush Falcons, who their only league loss is to Frisch, and they have a huge game coming up. Again, they're playing North Shore this week. I believe we know they're playing Mag and David. I think you said they have DRS still. So again, a lot of these teams they're going to go head to head, and the rankings and standings are going to take care of themselves. But Flatbush is one of the most impressive teams I've seen so far. I just think between the competitiveness, the JV team winning a championship last year, potentially Louis Franco coming back off of injury, and Sammy Jamal, Eli Mohaded. Yeah, I thought I felt confident there. Just a really good team, and they're big man S's. I think they're going to be a really strong team. We'll see as they come up. And then at number one, you have the Frisch Cougars, who we got to mention they had a big coaching change in the middle of the season. This is not something that the Yeshiva League is usually happens, but they have a new coach, their JV coach, Tuckman is his name. Okay, so he's come up. He's now coaching both teams. So they right before they made the coaching change, they had 3 games. They won all 3. So obviously the team has responded to. I don't know if they responded or they just took care of business. Teams that they probably should have beat. And then the one team that was on paper but maybe a little tougher was the Ramaz game, and they handled them pretty easily. Again, Frisch, what do you think as their number 1 seed? Right now, they have, I believe, 1 game left. Their season is almost done. They just play SAR after
pretty much any SAR slip up, and Frisch locks up the 1 seed before they even play that final SAR game.
Right, because they already own the tiebreaker over Ramaz. So they are, So they're right. They are pretty much locked into. I think they're locked into the 1 seed, right? No, they lose to SAR potentially, and Ramaz runs the table.
But
SAR
can't afford to trip up anymore. Because they already.
So what do you think? The question is, obviously, we're not going to talk about the coaching change. Meaning, we just mentioned they made one. But what do you think? How that affects the players? And obviously, most of these kids have played for. Have they played for Tuckman on JV?
Played for Tuckman 2 years ago.
Okay, so
they have familiarity with him. Tuckman was their assistant coach.
So do you think they're going to change anything they're doing to kind of like suit what he like? What do you think is going to happen with the in-season coaching change, which we haven't really seen before?
Yeah, listen, I have to give them a lot of credit. It's not easy walking into a situation like that and going 3 for 3. And I think it was 3 games in a span of 4 days.
Yeah.
Which is no easy task for anyone. Listen, it's now it's a long break. They don't play now until after their winter break.
Which I think is a negative, by the way. I think when you have to go all that time until you play a big game, that's not easy just to churn it up when the other teams may be playing a little more frequently.
Right. So I think it's too early to tell if everyone's bought in over there, but they definitely have to pat themselves on the back in terms of, going 3 for 3 in that stretch and, effectively locking up the 1 seed before their vacation even starts.
Right. No, absolutely. So those are our standings, our power rankings, and Frisch at 1, Or Yisrael at 20. I think that's the same as it was the last time we came out with the power rankings. But as we've said, huge games coming up. There's going to be a lot of fluctuating here between teams where they are now, opportunities to make a statement, make a move. And I think that top 11 has really separated themselves from the rest of the league. And let's see what happens in these games as they come up. So now let's get into our games of the week. And we generally highlight 1 or 2, but we kind of got all these games. And like we said, there are just so many huge games, and we'll just go through it here. So the first one that we wanted to talk about upcoming quickly is Flatbush at North Shore is coming up. They're playing Tuesday, 12/23, whenever this is released. Hopefully we'll get this released before that game. A huge game, really a big game for both. North Shore has 3 losses ready. Flatbush has 1. But again, you hit that second loss for Flatbush, and then you have Mag and David a couple of days later. You could be, doubling your amount of losses, right, in a span of 3 days, and your rankings really take a hit. And at North Shore, they can go from, sitting pretty to all of a sudden they're in that 4-5 game in the playoffs. What do you see? These teams played each other once so far in the Mag and David Championship preseason. What do you see in this game? What are the keys to the game?
This matchup makes me want to go back to our first episode interviewing both Sammy Chira and Charlie Sassoon, because that's the matchup I'm going to highlight. They're the X factors for both teams. North Shore are coming off a very, very disappointing loss to DRS at home. So I think they're
game they had in hand also. A game
they really had it. I really think Coach Shullum is going to have them locked in and, go into this game with a chip on their shoulder. Flatbush is coming off a pretty easy win over YDE. I don't know. I feel like I'm giving the edge to North Shore, a killer instinct type performance from Charlie Sassoon, perhaps.
Yeah, you know what? It's also it's one of those games. Is Flatbush not overlooking because they know North Shore is a talented team, but knowing they have that huge game against Magan, right? And they want to go in, both teams with 1 loss. This game is for the number 1 seed, everything, the transfer, the whole deal. But it's going to be a good game. And I think I think Flatbush wins. It's going to be a close game, but I think Flatbush, again, I would not be surprised if North Shore won, but I'm going to go with Flatbush winning by a few points, maybe up to 6 points over North Shore. And that's going to be a key interconference battle coming up on 12/23. The next game we'll touch upon, and we may even just quickly touch upon 4 games. 12/24. What do they call it? Christmas, right? It's Christmas Eve over there. If you're not going to be Atlantic City, you may want to go to Brooklyn to see Mag and David play host DRS. Again, this is a rematch of a game earlier in the season where they both came in undefeated. Magan led for about 2.5 quarters, and everyone thought Magan was going to win, and then DRS just went on a run. I believe Gaby Spodek was really the key to that game. He ignited the DRS faithful and the team back to the victory. What do you think happens here? DRS going into Magan to take on the Warriors.
Well, I guess I would highlight that I got the DRS Mag and David game right the first time, and I predicted that the Greenhouse would be the sixth man in orchestrating that victory. I don't think you're going to get a traveling Greenhouse for this game on Christmas Eve in Brooklyn. I think it's going to be a series split. I think Mag and David get their revenge on DRS, and DRS drop to 2 losses.
Right. I don't even know. I feel like switching my allegiance as I picked DRS in the first. I'm sorry, I picked Magan in the first, and I was wrong. But the more I look at it, I think Magan wins this game. I think they're going to be hungry based on having lost earlier in the season, knowing that second loss with the Flatbush game coming up. I feel like they're just going to be ultra focused. I think this is a huge week. I think Spike and Benny are just like chomping at the bit to get this week going because they just know how important it is in the focus. I also believe Magan comes out. I could see an overtime game. I know I say that a lot when I have these close games, but I think Magan wins, but it's a pick 'em. I mean, I don't even know if you had a spread. It's literally 1 or 2 points, maybe either way. But again, we're both in agreement there. We both see Magan coming out in the big victory. And then we'll talk about 2 more games. The first game we'll talk about, we're going to jump ahead, is 12/29, Flatbush at DRS. We're not going to really break it down because we talked about those teams, but that's on 12/29, a huge game, Flatbush at DRS. They have not played each other this year, I believe. This will be the first game.
Flatbush DRS?
Yeah.
Flatbush beat DRS in overtime.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. You're right. They beat him in Flatbush in overtime. That's going to be a huge game, and that's on 12/29. As now I say it, now we're going to talk about the big game. So I just realized Flatbush, the big game of the week is Magan at Flatbush. We talked about it, minimally with Cheech. We don't want to, make him forget about the upcoming 2 games that he has before that. But on Sunday, Magan goes into the Falcon.
The Nest?
No, it's not the Nest. It's the Beta Center. I don't know. They have a name for it. It's the Triangle. The Triangle Gymnasium. There we go. They have they go into Triangle Gymnasium. It's going to be packed. If I was someone who would go to a game and put on the Bobby Valentine mustache and not let anyone see me there. And I think, Ori, you'd be right there. This would be the game that you'd
be right next to you.
Fan, right? This would be the game you go to as a fan with the Cheech coming back to Flatbush. The civil war between the 2 teams. It's going to be fabulous, and it's going to be everything. And then before we break it down, the next day Flatbush then goes to DRS. So that's
wow.
Right. I didn't realize that. That's Sunday, Monday. That's some tough stretch back to back.
I feel like a lot of teams have had tough stretches this year.
Yeah, I think they are. I think, look, a lot of teams don't play on Hanukkah. Right. And then you have winter breaks. Some schools have different winter breaks. And then the way the scheduling makes it that you have to play a certain amount of games before the break, it kind of happens like that. But let's talk about this. This is going to be, again, as I said previously, each team could be 12-0 or 0-12 going into this game. It's like Duke, North Carolina. It doesn't matter. Michigan, Ohio State in football. It's going to be a fabulous game. And what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like? I know Cheech, he had the cool, calm answers. Like, how's it going to be? It's just another game. It's going to be, I'm excited. But what do you think the emotions are for a 17, 18-year-old as you left Flatbush, your friends, the team who's kind of helped build you up for 3 years or held you back, in Cheech's mind, maybe, about the playing time. Going into that, how do you keep your composure as you head into that huge game?
Yeah, I think in all our years of covering the Mag and Flatbush rivalry, we've never had a storyline of this magnitude.
Right?
I think they're going to be loud. I think they're going to give them a very hard time. And
this is like one of those games where both principals are at the game. Security. I mean, I'm joking about security, but the heads of schools, like both of them are just like, this is going to be a game. We want to make sure It's going to be fun. The kids are all going to be mentions and they're all going to behave. But, it just, when you're 15 to 18 years old and you're just excited, it's going to be one of those games where, like, this could have live.
You can't go an entire game without hearing the chant of traitor.
Right. Exactly. There's going to be something. And again, the beauty of it is, and as we said, they're all friends off the court, right? They're kids, like, they're in the community together. Like I said, they're just, since they were childhood kids, they were all playing basketball competitively against each other. But the key matchup, so what is it? It's Magan going in with Cheech. S is the big man of Flatbush. But I think it comes down to the guard play. I think
Sammy and Jamal.
Yeah, I think the guard play of Flatbush, of Ellie and Sammy, that's really it's definitely Eli. I said it wrong even when I was going Ellie, right?
It's Eli.
Eli, of course. God bless you. I know he's number 2 top player in the league. I just can't say your name. Okay. And then you still have another year because you're only a junior. So I'll butcher it for many more years to come, God willing. But yeah, it's gonna be a great game. They're both going to be coming in off huge games, right? Flatbush is playing North Shore and Magan is going to be playing DRS. They're both a few days before, right? DRS is at Magan on Wednesday before the Sunday, and Flatbush is at North Shore the Tuesday. So they're both coming off huge games. What do you see happening in this game? And I will say this: it's probably the biggest game since the last Flatbush Magan game, because you think about the Smecky game when he hit the 3 at the buzzer, and it was on ESPN Top Plays, and the Benny Cada teams against the Smecky team. They're always huge, and they're always classics. And it's one of those games. You're up by 12, it's coming back to a single digit game. But what do you see happening in this game at Flatbush?
I guess I'm very curious to see who can tune out the noise first. Who can go on that big run, and I don't know. I'm because I think Flatbush.
I don't even know who I'm picking.
Yeah, because I think Flatbush could possibly lose to North Shore. I guess I'll pick them to bounce back with an emphatic victory over Magan.
Emphatic. So you're saying not even a close game, or just a big?
I think they go in by 8-10.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's a huge game, and I think they're going to play each other twice, right? They have the rematch going to be at Magan with a month or so, or a few weeks later. I don't even know the scheduling, but it's not going to be far off. I think this is such a huge game, and I don't know. I think just Cheech plays on another level. The only thing I worry about Cheech is, and again, not that I've seen or known this, I worry about him picking up some fouls early. If he gets in foul trouble, right, just because he's over aggressive, the excitement of playing against his boys, and
yeah, and the scouting report on Cheech is going to be high for Flatbush. They'll have lots of material to prepare.
Correct. They're going to know, hey, he likes to get the ball in the low post on the left side. He has a spin move, whatever it is. I mean, I'm just making these things up, but they're going to know him better than anyone, right? But I think the way the calmness that I've seen of him on the court and in the interview, I think Magan wins this game. I don't feel confident. I think if you asked me 20 times, I would change my answer 19 times. So I think Magan wins by 3 points. I think it's just I don't feel confident. I think the more I talk about it, I'm going to say I think Flatbush wins. So I'm going to cut it off there. I'm going to say Magan wins. You say Flatbush wins. And just the state of the Yeshiva League basketball. This is where the action is. We get this next month, this upcoming week, which I'm so happy we were able to do this podcast today, and we're going to get it out there. But Yeshiva League basketball, it's really at a point where every game matters, and it's like the NFL football. When you come down to the final 3 weeks, every matchup is huge, has playoff implications, and I think we have that here coming up. So, any other thoughts, Oren, before we wrap it up, or is
no? It's like you said. It seems like we have a primetime matchup from now up until the end of the season. So, there's a lot to get excited about.
Yeah, there is. So that's the Yeshiva League Pass podcast tip-off show, episode number 4. Thank you, Holy Schnitzel. We'll be coming back probably in a week for sure in a week after these games get played. We're going to have a player of the week who's really stepped up, and the opportunity is in front of everyone. We wish everyone the best of luck. And the best part of the season is upon us. For Oren Glickman, I'm Ari Wickes, and this episode of number 4 of the podcast is in the books.